Every society has its quirks, but America seems to have turned its strange habits into a competitive sport. These aren't just quaint customs, they're deeply ingrained rituals that often defy logic, safety, and sometimes the law itself. We've compiled 48 of the most bizarre American traditions that walk the fine line between cultural treasure and a public menace. You think you know this country? Think again. 1. Every fall, America collectively loses its mind to a single, synthesized flavor. This is the annual hostile takeover of pumpkin spice. It begins as a quiet infiltration of coffee shops in late August, but by October, it's a full-blown culinary plague, infecting everything from craft beer and breakfast cereal to dog biscuits and, in a true crime against nature, canned ham. This isn't a trend. It's a multi-million-dollar seasonal ritual built on a flavor that rarely contains any actual pumpkin. Last year, the industry surrounding it was valued at over $700 million. We have built an economic empire on a lie, and we love it. 2. In the land of the free, millions of citizens pay a mortgage for the privilege of living under a tiny, private dictatorship known as the Homeowners Association. This elected council of your nosiest neighbors wields the bizarrely legal power to dictate the precise Pantone shade of your front door and confine you into oblivion for a basketball hoop they deem aesthetically disruptive. It's a system where you buy a piece of the American dream, only to discover it comes with a 300-page rulebook and a monthly fee. How did we willingly trade so much freedom for the guarantee of lawn uniformity? 3. America's relentless pursuit of efficiency has officially conquered the final inconvenience, saying goodbye. Enter the drive-through funeral home, a real, operational business where you can mourn a loved one without ever leaving your car. You simply pull up to a large bulletproof glass window, view the casket for a few moments, perhaps sign a digital condolence book, and then merge back into traffic. It is the ultimate chilling expression of a culture that has optimized every moment of life, so why not death? It's a moment of profound loss, processed with the same speed and emotional engagement as ordering a latte. 4. The Super Bowl is the only television event on Earth where the main program is an annoying 3-hour interruption to the actual show, the commercials. For one night, the nation is truly captivated not by athletic prowess, but by a parade of 30-second cinematic epics. The cost for a single half-minute ad slot has soared past $7 million, a price that makes the entire production budget of many Oscar-winning films look like pocket change. We don't just watch them, we have become the unpaid focus group for the year's most extravagant display of capitalism. 5. Behold the sacred American yard sale, a temporary, unregulated museum of suburban regret curated on a driveway. Here, a lifetime of questionable purchases, a fondue pot from 1978, a single lonely ski, and a tangled eldritch horror of unidentifiable power cords, all get one last shot at redemption. It's a chaotic spectacle of low-stakes capitalism where haggling furiously over 25 cents for a chipped coffee mug is the main event. Is there any purer expression of the American weekend? 6. In an age of quantum computing and advanced satellite weather mapping, America's most famous long-range forecast is still delivered by a sleepy rodent. Every February, a secretive cabal of men in top hats ceremoniously yanks a groundhog named Phil from his burrow, and the world's media reports his shadow-based predictions as if they were scientific fact. Yet according to the National Centers for Environmental Information, Phil's predictions have only been correct about 39% of the time. You would literally get a more accurate 6-week forecast by flipping a coin. 7. The meal is over, but the final anxiety-inducing challenge has just begun. It's a high-pressure math quiz with social consequences called tipping. The check arrives, and you must perform a silent, judgmental calculation of a stranger's precise worthiness to pay their rent that month. This system of voluntary taxation is almost unique among developed nations, and is held together entirely by our crippling, unspoken fear of being perceived as cheap by someone we will almost certainly never see again. It's not gratuity, it's a social anxiety fee. 8. The suburbs of America are the theater for a silent green Cold War, waged with fertilizer, sprinkler systems, and ride-on mowers. The objective is the perfect lawn, a flawless, blade-for-blade monoculture so sterile it actively repels joy and biodiversity. This obsession consumes billions of gallons of water and vast quantities of chemical pesticides. In fact, American lawns collectively cover an area larger than the state of Georgia, making irrigated grass the single largest and most useless crop in the country by a huge margin. 9. Most hobbies involve relaxation. This one involves spending a small fortune on an itchy wool uniform to passionately recreate the Battle of Gettysburg in the sweltering heat of July. Civil War reenactment is a bizarre blend of meticulous historical reverence and modern conveniences like porta-potties and snack bars. It's a spectacle of choreographed death followed by a trip to the concession stand. In what other country on earth does the bloodiest chapter of its history become a family-friendly weekend hobby? 10. It began with a simple colored cake. It has since mutated into a full-blown domestic pyrotechnics arms race. The gender reveal party has escalated from a quaint custom into a genuine public menace that seems determined to make the evening news. Today's couples announce their baby's future pronouns by detonating tannerite bombs, setting off colored smoke grenades that ground flights, and occasionally igniting thousands of acres of national forest. It's a celebration of new life that has now developed a shocking and completely avoidable body count. 11. Fantasy football is a national obsession that turns rational adults into obsessive data analysts for imaginary sports teams. They spend hundreds of hours studying obscure statistics and conducting drafts with the gravity of a corporate merger. The result? A multi-billion-dollar industry built on the beautiful, absurd premise of experiencing genuine emotional anguish over the job performance of someone else's employees. 12. In America, you can't just ask someone to a school dance. You must first stage a promposal, a public, high-pressure spectacle that has become a bizarre arms race of romantic theatricality. We're talking flash mobs in the cafeteria, messages on rented billboards, and even staging fake arrests with the help of complicit local police. The tradition has escalated to the point where the question is no longer, "Will you go with me?" but rather, "Can you really say no when I've already rented this Skywriter?" 13. Imagine watching what appears to be a kidnapping in broad daylight, yet the crowd is cheering. Welcome to the North American Wife-Carrying Championship. Here, men hoist women upside down over their shoulders and sprint through an obstacle course. It looks brutal, undignified, and frankly, illegal. So why do they do it? The grand prize is the woman's weight in beer and 5 times her weight in cash. It is the only sport where you willingly become human luggage for the glory of free alcohol. 14. America has a traditional rite of passage for its young adults that feels suspiciously like a state-sanctioned financial trap. It's called getting a student loan. The ritual involves an 18-year-old who cannot legally buy a beer, signing a binding contract for a debt the size of a small mortgage. It's a unique form of debt, nearly impossible to discharge in bankruptcy, that has collectively ballooned to over $1.7 trillion. It's the only product you're encouraged to buy without knowing the final price, with a debt that will follow you longer than most marriages. 15. Every morning in schools across the nation, millions of children stand, place a hand over their heart, and recite a loyalty oath to a piece of colored cloth. This is the Pledge of Allegiance. While intended to foster patriotism, the daily image of uniformed children chanting in perfect unison is a tradition that feels jarringly authoritarian for a country that prides itself on rugged individualism. For an outsider, it can look less like a morning routine and more like a scene from a dystopian film. 16. Picture a 5-year-old child. Now put that child in a full-length evening gown, give her a professional spray tan, false eyelashes, and a full set of dental veneers known as flippers. This isn't a surrealist nightmare. It's a toddler beauty pageant. This multi-million-dollar industry judges children on their poise, beauty, and talent in a way that feels deeply unnerving. It's a world where toddlers have professional headshots and agents, a spectacle so bizarre it feels less like entertainment and more like evidence being presented in a future court case. 17. How do you get kids who hate reading to suddenly beg their parents for books? In America, the answer is a brilliant tradition called the Scholastic Book Fair. For 1 week, the quiet school library is transformed into a chaotic, dazzling marketplace of books, novelty erasers, and posters of sports cars. It's a masterclass in marketing that brilliantly disguises raw capitalism as a wholesome celebration of literacy, creating a child's first purest taste of consumer frenzy. 18. The world's largest ball of twine. A frying pan the size of a small car. A museum dedicated entirely to barbed wire. These aren't fever dreams. They're destinations. This is the American tradition of the roadside attraction, a pilgrimage to see things not for their beauty or historical significance, but purely for their colossal, absurd scale. It's a powerful testament to the national belief that if something is big enough, it doesn't have to be interesting. 19. For 1 week every year, thousands of American college students subject themselves to a bizarre and grueling social ritual known as Rush Week. It's a highly structured, high-stakes audition where you attempt to convince a fraternity or sorority to accept you based on a series of rapid-fire conversations and a performance of relentless, forced enthusiasm. It's essentially a week-long job interview where the only qualification is being cool enough, a process that feels less like making friends and more like a social science experiment in conformity. 20. In the American South, there exists a fishing method called noodling that seems designed by someone who fundamentally misunderstands the concept of survival. The technique is terrifyingly simple. You become the bait. You wade into murky water, find a dark, submerged hole where a giant catfish might be hiding, and you stick your entire arm in. The goal is for the fish to aggressively attack your hand, at which point you wrestle the thrashing beast to the surface with your other arm. It's a tradition that bravely answers the question nobody was asking. What if we caught fish by letting them try to eat us first? 21. The infomercial is a 30-minute masterclass in psychological warfare, where a host with blindingly white teeth sells you a solution to a problem you never knew you had. It's a hypnotic loop of grainy black-and-white B4 footage of people failing catastrophically at simple tasks, followed by the desperate, breathless cry of, "But wait, there's more." This isn't just an ad. It's a long-form operation designed to separate you from your money for a revolutionary vegetable chopper you will use exactly once before it begins its long migration to the back of a drawer. 22. At major American sporting events, we've normalized firing projectiles from a high-powered cannon into a dense crowd of people. We call it the T-shirt cannon. For a glorious moment, the game stops, and a mascot aims a weapon that launches a tightly rolled piece of merchandise at startling velocity towards a screaming mob of fans. It is the only socially acceptable form of assault by cannon, a bizarre ritual where people risk minor head trauma for the glory of catching a free, extra-large shirt emblazoned with a regional bank's logo. 23. Look at a map of American voting districts and you will often see shapes that resemble deranged salamanders or abstract, tentacled inkblots. This is a political tradition called gerrymandering. It's the dark art of drawing electoral maps in bizarre, serpentine shapes with surgical precision, specifically to ensure one party wins, effectively making millions of votes functionally irrelevant. It's a perfectly legal system that feels like cheating in the most fundamental way imaginable, ensuring that politicians choose their voters, not the other way around. 24. The guiding principle of an American state fair is a culinary dare. If it exists, it can be deep-fried. This isn't a suggestion, it's a scientific mission. Deep-fried butter, deep-fried soda, deep-fried sticks of bubble gum. These aren't just menu items, they are a declaration of war on the natural laws of physics and gastronomy. Each creation is a beautiful, golden-brown monument to humanity's hubris and our eternal delicious conflict with the advice of every cardiologist on the planet. 25. Here's a bizarre business proposition. A restaurant offers a 7-pound steak for free, but only if you can eat the entire thing in under an hour. If you fail, you pay double and suffer both public humiliation and acute digestive distress. These are restaurant food challenges. It's a business model that dares its customers to induce a medical emergency for a shot at a free meal and their blurry photo on a wall of shame. It's gluttony repackaged as a spectator sport, where the only prize is bragging rights and a week of profound regret. 26. In America, you can win the presidency while getting millions fewer votes than your opponent. This isn't a glitch in the system. It's a 200-year-old tradition called the Electoral College. This isn't a university, but a bizarre system that filters the popular vote through a winner-take-all state contest, fundamentally violating the simple one-person, one-vote principle. Every 4 years, it ensures the entire nation gets a mandatory, painful lesson in confusing 18th-century math and profound existential dread. 27. Once a week, corporate America bestows upon its workers a great and solemn honor: the privilege of not having to wear uncomfortable clothes. It's called Casual Friday. This is the weekly corporate ritual where the rigid dress code is relaxed just enough to permit denim, as if physical comfort is a special treat that must be earned. It's a bizarre corporate reward that treats breathable fabrics like a quarterly bonus, subtly reminding you that for the other 4 days a week, your general discomfort is considered company policy. 28. The presidential pardon is one of the most profound powers held by an American president, a tool of ultimate mercy. And every November, that power is officially used on a turkey. In a full-blown White House ceremony broadcast to the nation, the bird is given a name, pampered for weeks, and then solemnly spared from becoming Thanksgiving dinner. It's a glorious piece of political theater where the most powerful person on earth must look a farm animal in the eye and grant it clemency, and we all pretend this is a normal part of governance. 29. A completely routine flight lands safely, and then a bizarre, spontaneous ritual breaks out. Applause. A smattering of passengers begins clapping for the 2 highly trained professionals who successfully operated a multi-million-dollar machine that was specifically designed not to crash. It's a lovely but baffling gesture that raises a serious question. Do these same people give a standing ovation when their Uber successfully merges onto the freeway, or cheer when the ATM dispenses the correct amount of cash? 30. Once a year, a temporary city of 80,000 people materializes in the Nevada desert for a festival called Burning Man. To outsiders, it looks like a Mad Max convention designed by art school students, complete with mutant vehicles and the ritual torching of a giant wooden effigy. Yet this supposed utopia of radical self-expression and anti-capitalism has somehow become the favorite networking event and vacation spot for Silicon Valley billionaires and tech CEOs. It's a glorious monument to counterculture, now sponsored by the very culture it was created to oppose. 31. Multi-level marketing is the uniquely American tradition of monetizing your social circle under the guise of entrepreneurship. It's a business model structurally identical to a pyramid scheme, but with the convenient legal cover of overpriced leggings, essential oils, or wellness shakes. The system brilliantly convinces people to turn their friendships into a sales funnel, a process that usually ends with a garage full of unsold inventory and a much shorter Christmas card list. 32. Every evening in Austin, Texas, a living, breathing tornado of 1.5 million bats pours out from under the Congress Avenue Bridge. The swarm is so dense it blots out the twilight sky and regularly shows up on local weather radar. In any other historical or geographical context, this would be viewed as a biblical plague or a sign of the apocalypse. In Austin, it's a beloved tourist attraction. Hundreds of people gather on the bridge and on boats below, cheering as the biological horror spectacle begins its nightly hunt for insects. 33. Try setting up a full living room, a sound system, and a barbecue in a Walmart parking lot, and you'll likely be arrested. But do it outside a stadium before a football game, and it's a cherished cultural tradition called tailgating. For a few hours, vast seas of asphalt become temporary, lawless cities dedicated to grilling meat, drinking beer, and listening to music too loudly. It's a bizarre, temporary, autonomous zone where the only rule is that you must never, ever question the host's highly questionable cooking methods. 34. You're at a fast food restaurant, having just ordered a meal with a week's worth of calories. The cashier then asks the uniquely American question, "Would you like to supersize that?" This is the tradition of paying a small fee to make an already enormous portion grotesquely larger. It's a business practice that feels less like a value meal and more like a formal declaration of war on your own arteries. 35. The moment you walk into an all-you-can-eat buffet, normal societal rules about portion control and personal dignity evaporate. It's a uniquely American space where piling a plate 3 feet high with a chaotic mix of shrimp, macaroni, and jello is not only acceptable, it's strategic. This isn't about enjoying a meal, it's about getting your money's worth. It's a business model built on a dare, transforming a simple meal into a personal battle against the restaurant's profit margin. 36. In many cultures, asking to take home unfinished food is considered rude. In America, our portion sizes are so famously enormous that it's a non-negotiable part of the experience called the doggy bag. The practice is a quiet but powerful tradition that serves as a national admission. Our entire business model is based on serving you a portion of food that would intimidate a competitive eater, and we've already got the box ready for your inevitable surrender. 37. Before a professional baseball game begins, it's often paused for a strange ceremony of mandatory celebrity worship. The celebrity first pitch. A famous actor, who usually demonstrates the athletic prowess of a newborn giraffe, is asked to throw a ball 60 feet. The resulting throw is almost always comically terrible, a pathetic dribble that dies in the grass. It's a moment of collective, secondhand embarrassment that has absolutely nothing to do with the sport about to be played. 38. A baby shower is supposed to be a wholesome party, but in practice, it's a pastel-colored hazing ritual for adults. Guests are forced to play games that feel invented in a fever dream, like sniffing melted candy bars in a diaper to guess the brand, or tasting unlabeled jars of pureed food. It's a tradition that feels less like a celebration and more like a series of strange, slightly humiliating trials you must endure before being granted entry into the secret society of parents. 39. Where else on earth is a full-scale assault on a retail store not just legal, but the official kickoff to the holiday season? This is Black Friday. Otherwise, sane people transform into human battering rams, ready to trample their neighbors for 70% off a television. It's the one day a year where capitalism drops its friendly mask and admits that yes, it would absolutely watch you and your sweet, elderly grandmother engage in mortal combat over the last discounted air fryer. 40. On any public road, intentionally smashing your car into other vehicles is aggravated assault. At a county fair, surrounded by the smell of cotton candy and livestock, it's called a demolition derby, and it's wholesome family entertainment. It's the only sport where the ultimate goal is to create a smoldering pile of wreckage that you can proudly stand on top of. It is pure, unadulterated vehicular violence, lovingly repackaged as a fun Saturday night for the whole family. 41. Thanksgiving is the ultimate American tradition, a beautiful, chaotic, and deeply contradictory masterpiece. It's a day dedicated to gratitude, which we celebrate by eating to the point of physical distress while watching large men inflict brain trauma on each other during a football game. We honor a heavily sanitized historical meal of peace, only to use that meal as fuel for the full-contact competitive shopping of Black Friday just hours later. It's a holiday that perfectly encapsulates our national love affair with food, family, and thinly veiled aggression. 42. Most countries have school dances. America has homecoming, a week-long festival of small-town pageantry and bizarre royalist traditions. This involves a parade with student-built floats, a high-stakes football game, and the election of a king and queen from the student body. It's a small-scale monarchy based entirely on popularity, a ritual that perfectly prepares teenagers for the important adult world of office politics, country clubs, and other arbitrary social hierarchies. 43. A typical 16th birthday involves a cake. An American Sweet 16 party, however, can escalate to the level of a royal coronation. We're talking rented ballrooms, designer dresses, multi-tiered cakes that cost more than a used car, and often a brand new luxury vehicle presented as the final gift. It's a rite of passage that feels less like a birthday and more like a high-budget reality TV show finale, teaching teens the valuable lesson that love can, and perhaps should, be measured in rental fees and the jealousy of their peers. 44. If you walked up to a politician and handed them a suitcase full of cash to influence their vote, you'd go to jail for bribery. But if you're a corporation, you can hire a professional lobbyist to give millions to that politician's campaign and educate them on policy. This tradition of lobbying is a perfectly legal system of institutionalized influence that feels illegal because it is the dictionary definition of bribery, just with better suits and a tax-deductible expense account. 45. In what other sport is the primary goal to induce a medical emergency on live television? The Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest isn't athleticism. It's a 10-minute spectacle of human limitation being gleefully ignored. Contestants shove nearly 80 hot dogs and buns down their throats in 10 minutes, an act that in any other context would earn you a frantic 911 call and a stomach pump. On the 4th of July, it earns you a mustard yellow championship belt. At what point does patriotism become a cry for help? 46. Filing your taxes in America is a famously stressful tradition. But here's the secret. It's complicated on purpose. For decades, companies that sell tax prep software have spent hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying Congress to kill any attempt to create a simpler, free government-run filing system. It's the tradition of actively paying to keep a civic duty as confusing and stressful as humanly possible, just so a handful of corporations can profit from your manufactured anxiety. 47. For 1 week a year, American high schools suspend all rules of fashion and common sense for something called Spirit Week. This is where you find teenagers voluntarily coming to school dressed in pajamas, mismatched clothes, or decked out as tacky tourists. It's a bizarre, highly organized ritual of mandatory fun, designed to foster school pride by forcing everyone to participate in a week of collective, low-grade public humiliation. 48. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. That iconic announcer voice screams, and you know you're at a monster truck rally. This is an event celebrating the American ideal that bigger is always better, especially when it's crushing something smaller. Here, vehicles the size of small houses with names like Gravedigger leap through the air and flatten rows of cars. In any other context, this is millions of dollars in felony property damage. Here, it's wholesome, all-American destruction served with a side of popcorn and exhaust fumes. So there you have it. A nation built on beautiful, chaotic contradictions. Now, the comment section is officially a courtroom. You have the power to strike one tradition from this list, making it illegal forever. Declare your verdict below and give us the one-sentence justification for your ruling. If this brand of cultural investigation is what you're here for, you know what to do. Like and subscribe.